Oh my God, I can't believe I have overcome depression.
Yeah! Mommy, we're rich now. We made it!
My name is Ethan Westbrook, and this is my story of how I overcame depression and started making $10,000 monthly. I'm going to tell this like it happened, not like a lesson. Because if you've never been broke, you won't understand how a person can look fine on the outside and be collapsing quietly. This story didn't start with a hustle. It started with a staircase and a lie I kept repeating, "We'll be okay." At the time, I wouldn't have called what I was going through depression. I thought depression was obvious, crying all the time, not getting out of bed, falling apart in public. What I had felt quieter, like I was slowly narrowing my emotional range, just a functional. It was a Tuesday evening, around 7:10 p.m. I remember because I was warming leftover rice, and the microwave clock was blinking. I hadn't fixed it in months. My mom, Linda Westbrook, came out of her room in socks, holding the railing like she always did. She said, "Did you buy the sugar-free bread?" I didn't even look up properly. I just said, "Tomorrow." She gave that tired little moms do when they don't want to argue. Then she stepped down. I heard it before I saw it, that sharp slip sound like rubber on tile. She grabbed the rail, missed it, and her body turned weirdly sideways as she fell. She didn't scream. She just gasped, like the air left her. I dropped the plate. It shattered. I ran over and said, Mom, don't move, please." She tried to laugh, but her face was tight. "I'm fine," she said. "Help me sit." I touched her leg and she flinched so hard her fingernails dug into my wrist. That's when my stomach dropped. "Pinewood Health Center," the nurse asked. My mom, stubborn as always, said, "Maybe 6. On a scale of 1 to 10 pain, it's more than 6. I said before I could stop myself. They took x-rays. The doctor, Dr. Adrian McLeod, came back with that neutral face doctors learn. He pointed at the screen and said, "Fracture. So you put a cast and it heals?" I asked. He didn't say yes right away. With diabetes, healing can be complicated. He said, "We need to watch circulation, infection, risk, all that." Then he asked, "What's her A1C?" My mom went quiet. I didn't know what that meant yet, but I knew silence meant it wasn't good. 3 weeks later, it was no longer just a fracture. It was follow-ups, medications, tests, specialists. A different doctor, Dr. Janet Riley, older, more direct, leaned back in her chair and said, "Listen, I'll be honest. If you can't keep up with consistent care, this becomes a bigger problem." "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means small issues become emergencies." I wanted her to say something reassuring. Instead, she asked, "Do you have insurance?" I didn't answer fast enough. She nodded like she already knew. Something shifted in me right then. Not panic, calculation. My mind stopped asking how bad this felt and started asking how long I could hold everything together. That's when life became notifications. Payment overdue, minimum due, final notice, past due, urgent. My landlord from Westfield Rentals texted, "Hey, rent is due Friday. Don't let it reach Saturday. Not please. Not hope you're well. Just pressure." I wasn't fired out of nowhere. It happened in pieces. First, I started arriving late, not dramatically late, just late enough to be noticed. Hospitals ran long. Pharmacies had lines. I'd rush into work trying to act normal, like nothing was happening. One morning I ran into the building at 9:17 a.m. I was supposed to be in at 9 o'clock. My manager, Craig Wallace, stopped me near the entrance. He didn't raise his voice. That's what made it worse. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah, transit was crazy," I said. He looked at me for a second longer than necessary. "That's the 3rd time this week." I know, I'll fix it." He didn't smile. "Come by my office later." That later sat in my chest all day. When I finally sat across from him, he said, "Your performance has dropped. You've missed deadlines. You've missed shifts. You've been absent. I've got family medical stuff." I said, He leaned forward. Everyone has something. The job still has to get done. He put me on a performance plan. 2 weeks. No more late arrivals. No more missed tasks. If I needed support, talk to HR. I nodded like I could do it. I already knew I couldn't. The day I lost the job wasn't dramatic. It was humiliating. My mom called me 5 times while I was at my desk. I ignored the first 2 calls. My manager, Craig, was walking around. By the 3rd call, my phone wouldn't stop vibrating. People were looking. I picked up and whispered, "Mom, what's wrong?" "My leg is burning," she said. "I can't feel my toes well." I stood up without thinking. In the hallway, Craig appeared at the end like he'd been waiting. He let me finish the call. "Is this what we discussed?" He asked. "My mom needs me," I said. "Do you have anyone else who can take her?" "No." He exhaled. "Go. But we need to talk about whether this role is realistic for you right now." 2 days later, HR ended my contract. They didn't say fired. They said effective today. Craig wasn't there. That's the part that stayed with me. A week later, I was desperate enough to believe in shortcuts. A guy I vaguely knew posted on social media, "Who wants to make money while sleeping?" DM me. Normally I would have laughed. I didn't. He replied instantly, "Start with $200. I'll handle everything." I didn't trust him. I trusted relief. I stared at my banking app. $247. That money already had jobs, transit, groceries, medication. I told myself I wasn't gambling. I told myself I was trying. I sent the $200. For the first time in days, I felt lighter. Not because I was safer, but because I'd acted. That feeling should have scared me. 3 days later, mark it down, relax. 5 days later, stop disturbing me. 7 days later, blocked. I stared at the screen and whispered, "No." Not because of the money, because of what it meant. I had no margin left, no buffer, no room to make mistakes. That night, I sat on the kitchen floor. Standing felt like effort. I wasn't crying. I wasn't thinking clearly either. My thoughts kept looping the same sentence. I can't afford to mess up. That's when I realized something had shifted. I wasn't just stressed. I was shrinking my decisions to avoid pain. A few days later, I wandered into a store to kill time. Being home felt suffocating. I scanned an item out of boredom. It was selling online for much more than the clearance price. I checked again, then again. For the first time in weeks, my mind engaged instead of bracing. "Not hope.com, curiosity.com, I said quietly. "Why is it cheaper here?" That question mattered more than the answer, because it meant my brain was solving something instead of surviving it. The morning after HR called, I still woke up at 6:30 a.m. Same alarm, same sound. I sat up automatically, then remembered I had nowhere to go. That realization came in waves. First, I'll figure something out. Second, rent is still due. Third, my mom is still sick. My bank balance, $47.12. When my mom asked how work was, I said, "Busy." I was still lying, not to deceive, but to avoid collapsing. The pharmacist at Willow Pharmacy rang up my mom's prescription, $86. I counted my cash. I was short. "Can we take just one?" I asked. "These aren't optional," she said. I stepped outside and called my sister Carla. She sent the money without asking questions. When I walked back in, I felt smaller than I ever had. That's when the $200 loss finally landed. Not as money gone, but as time stolen. When I bought my first resale items, it didn't feel brave. It felt contained. I checked prices, I did math. I bought less than my instincts wanted. That mattered. For the first time in months, I wasn't reacting. I was choosing. When the first sale notification came in, I didn't celebrate. I said, "Okay." Not relief, not excitement, just acknowledgement. That word meant something, because it wasn't about escape. It was about proof that careful action still worked. In the next episode of this story, I will be sharing my failures and how it made me to become more depressed. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel. I will see you in the next episode.